You're listening to Investify, preaching financial independence and assisting investors to achieve a more flexible and free lifestyle through smart financial planning and real estate investing. If leaving the corporate world and jumping into this thriving industry is what you desire, tune in and listen to stories of like-minded individuals who made the leap to financial independence. Equip yourself with the right tips and tricks to start your real estate journey, making active or passive ventures that are highly profitable and rewarding.
What's going on, everybody? You are listening to Investify. My name is Craig Kurlop, aka the Fi Guy, and my near and dear co-host, Miss Allie Garced, is unfortunately out of commission today. I think she's on vacation or doing something super fun. I actually just got back from a really fun trip, just me and my wife and our new little puppy. We call him Gunner. We did a little road trip around the Pacific Northwest, went to Walla Walla, Washington to drink some wine, did some hiking up in Olympic National Park and Beach, Seattle, Portland, and now we're back here up in northern Idaho. And, today we've got some special guests, Nate and Ashley Page. This couple is near and dear to my heart. We've known each other actually since I graduated college in 2015, so almost going on 8-9 years now. And it all started like when I moved to California and was in that job that I hated. And these guys were my friends in California in jobs that they hated. And I started my investing journey a little bit sooner than they did. And I just remember I did this trip with Nate to South America, and I was like high on real estate. It was before I had done anything, before I bought anything. All I was just listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast and just absorbing as much information as I could. And I was just like so into real estate. And Nate was just like, bro, you're all talk. Like, go do something about it. And like, he was actually a big motivator for me. I don't even know if he knows that. And so basically right when I got back is when I started applying for jobs in Denver, bought my first property. And now lo and behold, it's kind of all come full circle where he's been inspired by me to take action. And he's got now 3 properties of his own in the past 2 years with his wife, Ashley. And yeah, they've just got an amazing story, an amazing why, and just such good energy too. So if you guys are in the Denver area and want to hit up Nate and Ashley, I highly recommend it. And if you guys haven't already left Investify a rating and review, please do that. It helps us out tremendously. If you're a regular listener, it just helps us get better guests on the show. It helps us get more listeners and better guests and all that good stuff. One more piece of housekeeping before we get into the episode is that we are going to be launching a new series. We're going to be adding an episode every single week where it's just going to be me on there for about 10 or 20 minutes every Friday, talking about something, some piece of content. It might be a real estate piece. It might be a lesson I learned. It might be a deal. It might be just a market update, whatever you want to hear too. Feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram at the Fi Guy, and we'll make sure to get that piece of content out there. So with that being said, let's bring on Mr. Nate Page and Ashley Page. This episode of Investify was brought to you by the Fi Team, a team of investor-friendly agents that service all 50 states. If you are looking to house hack, to invest, grow your portfolio, and want a true investor-friendly agent on your side, go to thefiteam.com and click Get Started, and we can't wait to have a good conversation with you. Nate and Ashley, welcome to the show, my friends. How are you guys doing today?
Good. We're glad to be here.
Dude, pumped to have you guys on. Obviously, y'all know that you hold a very special place in my heart because we've been friends for a very long time, like way before real estate was even on the radar. But now look at us now, both in real estate and making things happen.
Making moves, man.
Yeah. So, I think I know your story pretty well, but, for everyone else who's listening, why don't you kind of take us back to, when you kind of had that switch from, living that W-2 life, growing up, how your parents taught you and told you to, becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a real estate investor, and kind of thinking there's something bigger and better for you out there.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start because I guess the switch turned on for me first.
Yeah, it definitely.
Obviously, with you being our friend for a long time, traveling together and stuff like that. I saw what you were doing, and at first I was like, I don't know how Craig is like living with other people, doing his house second thing. I don't know if I can do it. And then I saw you get the first home, and then the second home, and then the third home, and then I was like, all right, Craig, how are you doing this? You got to let me know. You told me you were coming out with the book, the one behind you, and you were like, I'm gonna have all the answers for you in the book. So I'm more than happy to like answer any questions that you have, but go ahead and read the book, and then we'll go from there. So end up reading the book and was like, okay, like I want to go ahead and do this.
And me and you were not together at the time.
We're actually not together at the time. But that's basically the switch that turned on. Is just seeing you go through your journey, and I was like, okay, this looks like something I want to do. Had no clue how I was going to do it, but that's the switch. That's how the switch turned on for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's funny is Nate is saying that he couldn't live with roommates, but as long as I've ever known you, you've lived with roommates. So you were just paying rent instead of having them pay you.
I think it was more the curtain story that you like to give, where I was like, I don't know how he can like live behind a curtain, but once I saw that next property, I was like, all right, Craig, I got to figure out how to do this next.
Well, the curtain story was funny because we were still all friends at the time, and you were just starting your journey, and we were still friends at the time, and we would like have conversations with each other of like, I don't know how he does that. Like, life's so short. Like, he's just living like that. And now, like, when we get together and kind of see you making moves, and okay, we want to buy a house together eventually, we're like, oh, we fully support that now.
Yeah, it's definitely a mindset shift, right? And so like, it was hard, right? And so for all you guys listening, like you have to go through that year or two of like living way below your means and grinding it out. And I went against advice from all of my friends, from all of my families. Everyone thought I was psycho. You guys weren't. You're special, but not special in that way. To think that like I was like this crazy person, but that's it, right? So then once you kind of saw like the light at the end of the tunnel, then it makes perfect sense to go ahead and do it. And so, Ashley, what got you kind of on board? Was it just Nate, like just poking you?
Yeah, I actually, because I was first a dancer in LA, living paycheck to paycheck, grinding in California, and then also being a preschool teacher and kindergarten teacher, I was like, there's no way I could ever own a home, right? So doing what Craig does, yeah, it looks great, but like, I don't have the money for that. And so when me and Nate were dating, he presented the idea to me. I was like, well, we'll see, because I've never envisioned myself having a home this early on in my age. I was thinking like 40, I'll get my first home then. And so I think me and Nate just talking about finances, really saving money, cutting back, and then really exploring the idea of moving out of California. That was the biggest thing for me. Is I grew up in California my whole life. I wanted to stay there. My family was there. My friends were there. It was safe. It was comfortable. And so moving was a no-go until we started talking more about the possibilities of what our future could look like and what we wanted it to look like. And I think that 2020 for me was my push of like, I want to change, and we want to create something better for us and better for our family. And it took 2020 to really do that for me. And that's when we really started talking about making the move.
Was it COVID or what happened in happened in 2020?
COVID was probably a bigger switch than you, Craig.
Yeah.
I want to say the reason why I say that is because we were actually in escrow for a condo in San Diego, and this was in March of 2021. And this is right before everything shut down. I actually got laid off from my job, and as you know, when you get laid off and you're in escrow, they're like, "Hey, we're not going to be able to give you this property."
And I got furloughed.
Yes, and she got furloughed, so we had no income at all to like make the payments or anything like that. So once we got laid off, that was pretty much the switch where I was just like, okay, like I have to figure out something to do because living in California is going to be way too expensive, and we also have to figure out a way to make ends meet. So got another job. Got another opportunity to work remote with this new opportunity. And then once that new opportunity said, hey, you can move to Denver and we're not going to change your pay, I was like, babe, we got to
go. That's amazing. And so why Denver? Like why, from San Diego?
So ironically, I actually lived here when I was in middle school. And if I had an opportunity I always told myself if I had an opportunity to move back, I would. So once that job that I told you, that new opportunity that I got went remote, I was like, okay, let's go check out Denver and let's see how it goes. And we came to Denver out in June, and she was like, okay, I can do this.
But mind you, no, I mean, I'm sure we'll get to this, but like, yeah, I said we could do this, but we are already under contract with you for our first home. So,
Also
like,
true.
I said yes before that because I'm a person that needs to do research. And so I was looking at I'm like, oh my God, natural disasters, hurricanes, all tornadoes, all these things that California doesn't have. Every other, state has. And I'm like, I don't know if I can move. And he's like, well, let's ask Craig. And that's when we started talking to you about houses and why Denver. I mean, he wanted to come back, but you really, because we're like, okay, well, Craig's making it work there. Maybe we can make it work there. And when I looked at all the other states, I was like, yeah, I think Denver would be where I would go. I mean, I've never been to it before, but it looks pretty sunny. It looks kind of like California, other than the beach, and so let's try it out. So it was a move that we were deciding together, and he was excited because he was excited to come back to Denver.
Yeah, well, I definitely thank you guys for having just such blind faith in me. But but I think it's funny that people do take a long time to try to figure out where they want to go. But I think you guys did exactly the right thing. It's like go where you know somebody, go where you know that it works, go where it's tried and true. Like just because you're picking Denver does not mean you're living in Denver forever. You can live here. I mean, I lived in Denver for 5 years, and now we've moved out. I've still got my properties and my team, and I still do real estate in Denver. I still help people in Denver. Like it's very much like you're not tied to your location, especially today with like remote work and how you guys have done your business. And so talk to me a little bit about, you said you were under contract before you even came to visit Denver. So like let's talk a little bit about that process. And so what this is going to be called, we don't have our guest Allie today, or our co-host Allie today, but this is going to be called our For Real Deal. This is your first deal that makes you a for real investor. So Nate, Ashley, kick us off with, we know that you picked Denver. We know why you picked Denver. But, tell us a little about the property, how you found it, the numbers, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'll let you talk about like how you found the first deal because you're the one that actually saw the house
That is
first.
true.
Yeah, you're the
I
one
should
that
have
saw
been
it
watching
first.
kids and I was scrolling the MLS. So yeah, I mean, we started the conversation with you, and then we just started looking at homes, and you and your team actually showed us, the houses that we liked and we wanted to see, through a video, and we saw this one. I sent it to Nate. Nate was like, yeah, the place has a man cave. Let's do it. And then we noticed that it had an upstairs and a downstairs. It worked. We knew we wanted to house hack. And so we knew we wanted more bedrooms. We wanted more than 2,000 square feet. That was kind of the requirements that you had told us. We had no idea kind of getting into it. We read your book. We did all the things to kind of get knowledgeable of what we're looking for, but we were first time investors. So we were like, okay, just a lot of bedrooms, 2,000 square feet, and maybe a place where maybe one day can be converted into two separate units, And so this place worked. It had, a separate living area. It had it downstairs. It was more than 2,000 square feet. It had a man cave for Nate because we wanted to live here too. It had 6 bedrooms. So we were like, yeah, go look at it. You showed us the property and we were like, let's put an offer. So when we put an offer, we always say it was sight unseen, because we just saw it through video, but we were under contract. And we will say, we always tell people this, Craig, is during that 2021, we had to do those full appraisal gaps. And we told you, no, we don't want to do those because we don't have extra money to put down. We only had what we had. I think, what do we have? About 20K at the time.
Yeah, about
And so
20K.
we really didn't have much. We were using his 401k, or your Roth IRA, your Roth IRA. And so we really didn't have any extra money. And so you, as a great friend, was like, it's okay. If you guys we need to do an appraisal gap. And if it comes to it, I can lend you the money. And I know, and we're like, oh, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We don't want to owe you money. And you're like, it's fine. To get you your first home, let's just get there. And it's going to be risky. It's going to be a risk, but this risk will pay off. And we're like, okay, it's okay. We'll do it, I guess. And me and Nate are on the phone with you, like, are you sure you want to sign? Are you sure you want to sign? Are we going to do a full appraisal gap? That means we have to pay 20 to the 30K, possibly, if the house doesn't appraise, we're paying way over asking, So very nervous, as first time home buyers getting into this market. I'll have Nate kind of go over the numbers, but that was kind of the emotional pull when we were going under contract on this first house.
That's so funny. Not gonna lie, I kind of forgot that I offered that because it didn't come to fruition. I didn't actually have to lend you guys the money, and because the appraisal came in okay. And for those of you guys that don't know what an appraisal gap is, basically what that means is that we waived our right to an appraisal, and so or if the appraisal were to come in low, we would cover the difference. So the seller would be guaranteed the amount on the purchase contract, and now that I'm listening to this, I don't think I would do that again today because I think that's extremely illegal. I just didn't think I knew that at the time. So yeah, like as a realtor, I'm not supposed to like. There's a conflict of interest there. I can't like force a deal to be done. But I guess it didn't go through, so we can't get in trouble for it. Didn't actually do it, and so. Yeah. And so yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about like, do you remember what you purchased that property for? How much your down payment was, what the monthly payment, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so I think the initial price was the listing price was 490. We went in over asking at 520, and there was that 30K appraisal gap, and
A full appraisal gap, not 30K.
yeah, sorry, the full appraisal gap. So it did end up appraising at that 520. So going in, our PITI it was about 2,700. And because we had 6 bedrooms, since I work from home, we're only going to rent out 4. So we had the master bedroom, we had the downstairs bedroom. That bedroom doesn't also have an US window too. So I was like,
no windows.
Yeah, no windows. Actually, I feel like I'm in a dungeon when I'm working down there. But that room I turned into my office, so we rented out the 4 bedrooms. The 4 bedrooms are $850 a month. So that's 3,400 over our 2,700 PITI. So I guess you can say that we're cash flowing 700, but I also like to include utilities and whatnot. So after utilities and everything like that, we're probably cash flowing about 200 on the property. So that really just like goes into our reserves, and we save that money, put it into a next property.
But you're living rent free as well in that, right?
Yeah. Mortgage is completely covered. Expenses are completely covered, and then we have a little bit more on top for any reserves.
Yeah.
So you have to remember as well that your tenants are not only paying your mortgage, but are also paying your utilities, and they're probably helping pay some like some common stuff like food items and toilet paper, paper towels, all that stuff, right? And so there's a lot of like unseen things that you're actually benefiting huge from, to where you're saying the cash flow is 200, but that when you move out, you can probably rent that master bedroom out for at least 900 if you're renting out the other regular bedrooms at 850. And so, your cash flow is actually probably closer to 1,100 a month, and maybe even more than that because you're going to not pay utilities when you move out. And so, I think like that is just huge. And yeah, that was 2021. Times were a little different, but like not really. Like you guys, I'll be honest, like you guys did not get like an amazing price deal, but you got a deal, and it's changing your life. And like that's the whole thing. And like I just love that you guys took action and made something happen versus waiting till 2023, where now that house is, probably maybe 550 or 570. Not a huge difference price wise, but the mortgage rates are a lot higher, and now there's no way you would cash flow that, or it'd be very difficult.
And we were just I was looking at our numbers before this Zoom or this call, and I was telling Nate, when we do move out one day, we could really cash flow this house because we take 2 rooms. So because of the your office, and because of the house the room we live in, so really we could really be cash flowing, up to 1,200, 1,300 if we don't live here. And yes, Nate counts the utilities and all that, but like you said, when we're not living here, we're having them pay for that. So it really, cash flowing is really awesome. And like you said, it wasn't like the best deal ever, but we're like, rates will rentals, all these rooms will increase in our rent, and we have a really small mortgage compared to our other mortgages that we've bought in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you have to know at the time, no one was talking, oh, rates are so low and they're gonna jump up in 2 years. Like no one was talking about that. If they were, everyone would be buying at that time, right? So hindsight is 2020. At that time, the story was prices are as higher now as they've ever been. It's a really scary time to buy. There's going to be a crash around the corner. COVID is changing everything, right? And that was the story. So like as scary as it is today with the high interest rates and all that, just know that 2 years from now, you're going to be looking back, in 2023 and being like, well, dang it, I wish I bought in 2023 because now prices are higher, mortgage rates are the same or higher, and that's just how real estate works. So you guys bought that place in May of 2021, is that right?
June 2021. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
June 2021. Okay. And so you lived there for a year. And so what happens in June of 2022?
I'll take this one, and then you can do the numbers again if you want. But
Okay.
because it was well, me and Nate were both, so we lived at the house that we first bought. And the funny story is, in December of that year, we saw a house across the street from us get sold, and we were like, we got new neighbors. So no one moved in there January, February, March.
Renovating the house.
And we saw renovations happening, and we're like, just curious. And at the time I'm studying for my real estate license as well. And at the time we were like, maybe we should go over there and like knock on the door and see like, is it just new people and they just haven't moved in because they want to renovate, or are these flippers? And we're coming up on our date, in around May and June. I wonder if we can buy a house across the street. So we knock on the door. The contractor answers and says he doesn't own the home, but he knows the buyers, and they're flippers, and so they're flipping the house to go ahead and sell it. So we get in touch, long story short, with the sellers. We make a relationship with them. We invite them over for dinner. We kind of let them settle on, hey, we'd love to do a deal with you guys, an off-market deal. At this time, it's still 2022, but in the beginning, so, the market was still pretty hot. And so we were like, if we don't have to find something on the MLS, might as well do an off-market deal. And so that's what we did. We just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until we all kind of found a middle ground. And went under contract with that place. But that wasn't so easy. So I'll let Nate take the other side of us really almost not getting that second house either.
Yeah. And it was really just because the underwriter was just like, hey, they're trying to get this house across the street. Like, what's going on here? We don't think that like they're gonna move in and stuff like that. So yeah, that was the whole thing. So unfortunately, like the lender that we were originally going with was just like, hey, I'm trying to go to bat for you guys, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. And we're just like, oh my gosh, like, no, this is like a good opportunity. Like, what are we going to be able to do about it? And then next thing, and then we actually call up one of your friends, Mike, and we're like, Mike, hey, we're actually having a problem here. Like, we're not able to, get, the lender underwriter's not going to be able to give us the property. And he's like, you could just get another lender, you know that, right? And I was like, oh, you can do that? So yeah, we end up going to another lender, and actually another broker, and that broker ended up getting us with a lender and underwriter that went ahead and approved the mortgage, and we were able to get that property, move in, and all that good stuff. So it actually worked out. I guess it just goes back to just having the proper connections and having the right people to talk to guide you in the right way. So.
Yeah, with lenders, I always say that if you don't get the answer you want, just go ask other lenders, because like for some reason, even though they all abide by the same guidelines, I've never been able to figure this out, but like different lenders will be able to lend on different things, even though they're all being sold up to Fannie and Freddie. And so anytime I'm just like, if you want to do something that's not totally outlandish, talk to a couple different lenders. And if you go through 5-10 lenders and they all are saying the same thing, then you might have a difficult time. Then you might have to do a little bit more creative. But yeah, no, I love that. And so what did you, okay, so this off-market deal, you basically, it was essentially like walking or driving for dollars, right? Because it's just the house across the street. And so what's like, how did that conversation go with with the flippers or with the owners of that house? Like, how did you even start that conversation?
Yeah.
So actually, ironically, Craig, we were going to your wedding, and on the way to your wedding, maybe like a week before, the contractor there, he's actually still our contractor now. Dude has the Midas touch, but the contractor at the time, he was like, "Hey, I'm not the person who bought the home, but be on the lookout for a big red truck." We're on the way to your wedding, and we see the big red truck outside.
So we turn around
So
to
we're
go
like-
back to our house.
So we're like, "Oh, this is our chance. We gotta go talk to him." So we end up going, just knocking on the door, end up having a conversation like, "Hey, we live across the street. Just wanted to know, like, what your plans on with the house."
And we said we are investors. We live across the street. We rent out our bedrooms. So we kind of gave them who we are too.
Mhm.
So they're not like, who are these random neighbors knocking on our house?
Yeah.
And they actually invited us in. So they were like, well, do you want to see the work we're doing? And we're like, sure. And then we kind of got on the mode of like, they're like, so did you say you rent out your rooms? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, well, we're investors too, but we just rent out our whole house. Tell us more about renting out rooms. And then we're like, well, do you want to come across the street and see our home? And so they came across the street to see our home. And I think that really built that relationship and that trust of like, these people are serious. They'll probably do a deal with us as long as we can get to a common ground. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow. And then there was a wedding going on with no DJ.
Yeah, I ended up making it on time. I ended up making it on time to DJ your wedding, which is also good too.
Yeah. No, you didn't. I was just kidding. I didn't even know this happened beforehand. So that's awesome though, right? So that's having the conversation is really like 90% of the battle, because like if you're just a likable person, which most people are, if you can like just be friendly, you're just having those conversations and building up your numbers and just hoping that there might be something that works out. Now they don't have to list. They can save on realtor fees. You can probably get a better deal on it. Actually, you could keep your commission as a real estate agent or whatever, or just not take commission at all, save them some money, which it's encouraging them to give you a better deal on the property. So I think that's a really it's a really awesome thing that you guys did. And so how did you go about like analyzing these numbers? How did you come up with a price? How did you, when it's not on the market?
Yeah. I actually she used to be on your team. I talked to Kayla a lot. She was like, they didn't want to use an agent. They had an agent that would like give us documents basically. But they were like, since we've built a relationship with you, we really don't want to use, if you guys want to pay your own, realtor. I wasn't the realtor at the time. I was very close to being one. I was going to take my test in like 2 or 3 weeks, but wasn't one yet. So I was going through the contracts and I was like, ooh, I may need some help on this. And so kind of went back and forth with someone that we both know. And we kind of just looked at the comps in the area, looked at like what homes are selling for. She kind of put me on the MLS just to kind of see like the comps in the area to see what houses, like I said, are selling for, what houses sold. And then I basically I just asked them, what is your net number? Because I know you don't care about all the fluff. What's your net number? What do you have to net? And they said, we cannot take anything lower than 580. And I said, well, let's do it for 580. And she was like, well, we would like higher. And I was like, we won't do anything. Like, we'll ask you for health and safety on the inspection, but we won't ask you for anything more. We're not going to ask you for paint chips or random, inspection things. Appraisal, we'll do a full appraisal gap. So we got you there. So if we do those two things for inspection and appraisal, can we get your net number at 580? And she's like, okay, fine. We'll do that as long as you do that for me with appraisal and inspection. And I was like, we'll do that for you. And we won't have a realtor. You can pay your 1% to your realtor and there will be no realtor cost. We won't have one on our end. And she was like, okay, deal. So I think just kind of speaking her language and seeing really what she wanted was the ultimate goal. And as long as we were comfortable with that, ultimately we just wanted the house across the street. And we're like, we can make the numbers work, because it was 580 and we were like, it was it was 4 bedrooms at the time. But we envisioned that we can cut these 2 rooms in half in both living rooms and now have a 6 bedroom. So we are like, if we have a 6 bedroom, our mortgage is around $3,300. If we have all of those rooms rented out for $850 or $950, right now our income for our roommates is about 5,200. So we'll for sure cash flow, right? And then we'll live, in the bottom basement in the room that we make. And so we're like, the numbers work. It's going to work when we leave. And it's going to be right across the street so we can still do our own property management and not hire out.
Yeah. And so how did you feel about paying $60,000 more less than a year later on the property across the street? Right. Like, and actually even more than that, right? If you include like not paying realtor fees and all that, like really that property was probably like, you got it for 580, right? But like it could have been 600.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you have to balance out like the level of competition that you would have to do if it was on the market versus like dealing with the off the market. If it's off the market, we were just like, okay, like we don't have to deal with like other bidders and everything like that. So I think that was like the main thing of getting this off market deal, because the market was still, even though like interest rates were actually double at that time.
They're 5%.
Yeah, double at that time than what we initially got our first property. It was still going to be worth getting, paying maybe even over asking because it was an off market deal. So,
well, and was it February when you got married, Craig? So I'm trying to put the month. So it was still like, competition was really high. So we're like Nate said, do we want to compete with this house across the street, and might have to pay well over 600. And when the appraisal came back, it was 600. So we were like, okay, well, we paid for, less than. We didn't tell them that, but, we were like, okay, well, it appraised for exactly what we needed it to and higher. So now we have some bills in equity and it's only going to increase. So let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's important, right? Like you guys did you bought at the height, right? But like, it doesn't matter because you ran the numbers and you just shared your numbers, right? Like you just shared that your mortgage payment was $3,300. If you could rent out 6 rooms for $850 to $950 based on the room, you're making $5,200 a month in rent. You've got over $2,000 or I guess $1,900 over the mortgage, and you think like that is a massive buffer. And so like even if your utilities were like $700, which is kind of out of this world, like you're still netting $1,200 a month. And then after like it's just like there's so much room to be conservative there. I think that's why the rent by the room method is like so valuable, because even in times of high interest rates, even in times of high prices, like you can make these things work. And so I will say I gotta ask you though, like how are you commanding $850 to $950 in rent? Because I think what a lot of people are only able to get are like 700. And so I know Ashley's got a style for design, and so maybe that's it. But tell me, like, how do you command that high of a price?
Yeah, I probably would say, and I think you said this on a previous podcast, but like when you're putting the home up on like Facebook Marketplace, on roomies.com, roommates.com and stuff like that, you're really selling a dream. So when it comes to like staging and stuff like that, obviously Ashley has a real good eye for design. So when people see those initial pictures, they're like, oh my gosh, this feels so homey. Like I think one individual who just came to see a room in our third property was just like, oh, like I feel like when I walked in here, like your house just gave me a big old hug.
A warm hug. And I was like, that's the nicest compliment you could have given me.
So really selling the pictures, staging them really well. And
not staging, the furniture's here to stay. So when he says staging, it's the furniture that's staying with the house. So, we furnish the whole house except their bedrooms. We don't furnish their bedrooms. And we furnish the whole house. And we, provide them with a cleaner that's once a month. So we're like, hey, yeah, you're sharing a bathroom, but hey, guess what? You get a cleaner once a month.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you don't have to mow. They're like, oh, do we have to mow the lawn? No, we have a lawn guy that comes every week to mow the lawn and do all the lawn stuff that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's this opportunity where like you can still live in a really nice place with awesome people that go through a really rigorous, we are really good at having our standards really be set, which we've learned from you, and not really changing those standards. And people like living here. And so they're like, okay, well, it's less than $1,000. So it's worth it for me. So I'm going to pay for it. And we've never got any pushback of like, ooh, you guys are the most expensive. We've actually got the pushback that's like, oh, wow, you guys are the cheapest. And we're like, we're the cheapest?
Yeah.
We hope this episode is inspiring you to take action if you're thinking about becoming a real estate agent or an agent who wants to join an investor-friendly team, just hit me up on Instagram at the Fi Guy, because we are growing our team in Denver, Seattle, San Diego, and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, but also adding to our network in all 50 states. And if you didn't already know this, the Fi team provides a super supportive environment with one-on-one coaching, accountability, and ongoing training to help develop kick-ass, rock star, investor-friendly real estate agents. So hit me up on Instagram at the Fi Guy, shoot me a DM, and we'll set up a time to chat. Can't wait to chat with you. Yeah, wow, that's insane. That's crazy. And so, how are you getting? How are you screening your tenants, and what are you doing to make sure that you've got the right people and the right fit? Are there any situations in the rent by the room that comes up that are tough?
Yeah, so we really are a team when it comes to this. So what I'll do, well, she'll take the photos and stuff like that. I'll put them up on Facebook Marketplace, roomies.com, all these other different websites and stuff like that. People will message me. And what I'll also do, I'll actually take like an hour out of my day to reach out to people on those sites as well to be like, hey, we have a room for rent. Give us a call if you're interested. Check out our profile because you'll see the pictures. And then they'll either call me or Ashley. And then during that process, when they call one of us, the three questions that we ask: do you have any pets? Do you smoke cigarettes? Are you willing to pass a background and credit check? And your credit check has to be a minimum of 600 or higher. If you answer to those three questions and you pass those questions, then it's like, okay, now we can get into details about the property because. Yeah. Honestly,
I won't even talk to anyone or entertain if they're like, I have a dog and I'm like, oh, my credit score is 540. I'm like, oh, well, we don't really look at any applications that have anything less than 600. And they're like, well, it's because. I'm like, thank you so much. And when you have that credit score, get back to us. We always have rooms for rent, but we just don't entertain.
Yep.
Our less than our standards.
It's so good that you guys can do that. I tell people to do that, but let me tell you, I have gone against my own rules, and it always bites me in the butt.
Yeah, it is difficult.
We had a certain instance. You can tell about this. It was another Black guy that Nate was like, I really want to help him. No one else is going to help him.
Yeah. So there are instances where, people, because I guess I'm empathetic because, I have people in my background, like people in my family that, have certain, things on their record. Maybe they do have a credit score hit because of the record and stuff like that. So I'm like, hey, if I do this for you, I need you to I really just have a stern chat with them. I'm like, hey, you really need to walk the straight and narrow, if you're going to live with us, because I am going against, what our guidelines actually are. But a lot of times they usually eliminate themselves. A good example is hey, I'll have half the deposit now, and then I'll give you the other half, next week or next Friday. And then that Friday comes, that deposit's not there. And I'm like, look, man, you're already messing up. So I can't even give you the benefit of the doubt. So there are instances where I try to be empathetic because, like I said, I have family members that, struggle with that. But if you eliminate yourself, I can't do anything. You got to help me help you. You know what I mean?
Well, and I feel like we don't really try to do that anymore just because we would love to do that and give back. But I think that's going to be in a later time in our lives to give back with these homes, just because right now we can't afford to do that, and, again, we try to be empathetic. But when we were empathetic one time with this certain guy, we almost had to evict him if he gave us money and he got keys from us. We would have to go through the eviction process because then he said he didn't have money for rent. So thank God it didn't get there and he didn't sign the lease. We worked it out to where okay, never mind, dude, you're not going to be living with us. But if we got to that point and we were choosing to be a little bit less to our standards, we could have been in trouble as landlords and could have had our first, not so great tenant. So we haven't had that in the last 3 houses, and I want to continue that record.
Yeah. It's, one thing I'll add to that too is it's really, really easy to want to be the nice guy and to be sympathetic or empathetic, especially when you're the one showing them the house. You're shaking their hand, you're having the conversation, you're seeing the hurt in their eyes for applying to houses and not being able to have a place to live. And you want to be that source of happiness for this person who doesn't, right? I've been there too. And it always, always, always comes back to bite you. And I want to just say, being a landlord, it is not the place to be empathetic. If you want to be empathetic, go serve somewhere. Like if you want to feel that, like if you want to give back, like, which I think everybody should do, give back. But you're not really, it's not really about you at this point. Like you're living with four other people. And so by putting someone in the home that, has a criminal background or isn't going to pay or is going to be a menace to the house, like it's not even about you. It's about the other people in the house. And you're just orchestrating that for everybody else. And so, yeah, it is really hard to fall in. I fall into that as well. We're trying to be the nice guy. And so, yeah, I think this is great. And so, okay, you guys have 3 properties. And so let's dig into number 3 here. So what happens after number 2? Did you buy the house next door?
If it was on sale, we would have tried.
I wish.
One day.
One day, yeah.
We're gonna buy the whole block as our goal.
Yeah. So, gosh, I mean, I guess just beginning with the process, we probably looked at like at least 30 properties.
And at this point, it was easier, right? We just bought our property July 11th, our 3rd property. And it was easier because this is my first time with our own house being a realtor. And so I was like, oh, we got access to the MLS. We can go anytime we want. And our primary place as of right now is Westminster. So we kind of look in this Westminster area. We'll go to Arvada and Wheat Ridge and kind of that north of, Denver area, but we really try to stay in Westminster so we can manage our properties ourselves until we don't want to or can't. And so we try to stick to our areas. And so, like Nate said, we looked at like 20 plus houses, I would say. Yeah. We really weren't finding what we were looking for. They didn't kind of, they had maybe the 2,000 square feet, but the numbers didn't work. And, again, with these interest rates, yes, we realized, oh, wow, like when buyers say it's hard, like we get it because our numbers aren't working and we have to find a house that our numbers work with or else we're not going to buy. And so our numbers weren't working with some of these houses, or some of these houses said they were 6 bedrooms, but the other 2 bedrooms were just awful. And so we were just like, we can't rent those out to people and feel good about that, And so we were just looking until we found this house that we actually didn't even consider. We were like, it's probably really old, but the ground and the layout of like the backyard and the land is actually pretty good. Like, let's go check it out.
Yeah, I want to add right there is like, when it comes to renting by the room, there are some things that you do want to look for when you're buying. Like this one was on a corner lot and there was plenty of parking around the corner lot too. So if you're renting by the room, you want to make sure that there's ample amount of parking. So we actually had that going on with the second property that we bought, like, hey, don't park in front of my house and all this other stuff. So it's like, okay, if we do want to do this, we need to make sure that we have ample amount of space, ample amount of parking. So this one, like she was saying, had a lot of square footage and also a good amount of parking.
Yeah. But it looked a little old inside from the pictures. So we were like, you know what though? Don't judge a book by its cover. Let's go look inside. So we went to go see it. We realized it was 2 minutes away from our other 2 properties. And that was really convenient. And so we were like, okay, that's, +1 check mark. And then ample parking, long streets. It was near a freeway, but when we went inside, we're like, oh, can't even hear the freeway. And the way it was spaced out is what we like. We don't really like open concept, just because we've noticed for us when we rent by the room, everyone likes to hang out in their own spaces or not hang out in the common areas at all. But everyone likes to, so if it's an open concept where there's the kitchen and then it leads into the living room, if someone's watching TV and someone's cooking, kind of interrupts the flow of things. And so we kind of like it when houses are a little bit older in the sense of they kind of have their designated kitchen, dining room, living room, and their own designated areas. And so it had that, and it had different rooms. It had a basement. The one thing we as investors that try to look for is to diversify our portfolio one day if we want to change it up. So this one had a separate entrance for the downstairs, and all we had to do was build like a wall or a door, and it had a completely separate entrance to go downstairs, and that would be another area. So it could be technically like a faux duplex. So that was another strong suit. And then we were like, we really like it. It's really not that bad in here. We thought it would look older. There were some old features, but I was like, if we change the fixtures, we change things about it, we'll make it look newer, and we don't have to do too many crazy things.
And it's been on the market for 30
days. On the
days.
market for 30 plus days. So we had some buying room.
Some leverage.
So we had some leverage. We did the numbers of like around what our mortgage would be. We were like, okay, it's probably going to be around the same as our first, because it was about $385 was the asking price, and so that's kind of $585.
Yeah,
$385. I hope.
$385. I was like, wait, what? Yeah,
$585. My bad. $585, and so we're like, it's very close to our second property. And so the numbers will work because we'll just rent out all 5 bedrooms. We'll live in one, and we'll cash flow. And so we decided to talk to the listing agent. He did not want to budge on his numbers.
Yeah.
And Nate was like, well, then I don't want the house. And we went back and forth. And I said, babe, really, at the end of the day, the numbers work. It's a great property. Do we really want to lose this property? And he was like, I was like, we're not seeing else out there. Nothing that compares. We've seen other houses after that. We didn't really like it. That house still, no one made an offer. And I made a really good connection with the listing agent, and he was like, come on guys, like we can give you this or this or this, but we can't budge on price. He bought it last year for $565, so he wants $585. He was also an investor. And so we were like, are we gonna lose it? And Nate said, nope, I don't want to lose it. We've seen other properties, and now I really want this one, so just put the offer in. So we put the offer in, and we got it, and we did a 2-week closing, so we got it in 2 weeks time.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So I want to just say too, like, it's so good that you guys can take even though I could feel the emotion was running, you were able to like recognize that and put the emotion aside, because 20 grand is not going to make a difference. It's like $100 a month on your mortgage. It's nothing. And so, getting the house, you're not going to remember in 3 years from now that you even had the option to buy it at 560 versus 580. Like, you're just like, yeah, 580, and now it's worth 700, and I'm very happy.
Yeah. And I think it's pride, right? It's the pride that like we all have, right? We had pride, like it's been on the market for 30 plus days. Like, like, why can't you just budge on your price? And he's like, well, I'm not budging, and I don't have to sell it. I can rent it out, and we're like, do we want to lose it? No. Like you said, we stopped the emotion and just looked at the numbers.
Yeah. So when it comes to the numbers, the reason why we actually wanted we were doing like a 585 with like 20K like concessions is because we saw that we were going to have to put some work into that home. So that 20K that we were going to use, that we were going to get back, we were going to actually use to like, build out the extra rooms, repaint the house, add the extra bedrooms and stuff like that. I mean, we had the reserves, but I was like, I'd rather keep those reserves so we could save it for our next property, but but I was just like, you know what? Let's just look at it this way. Like a good example is like we're building we're finishing up the other bedroom downstairs, and that 6-bedroom I think is going to cost like $4 or $5 grand at that.
Yeah, 4,500.
I was like, dang, I got to spend $5 grand on another bedroom. But then I look at it, I'm like, in like 8 months, 9 months, I'm going to have that money back once I rent it out. So it's like, why not just put the money into it now, get all the repaint done and all that other stuff? It's going to end up being worth it.
Because originally, too, we didn't run the numbers with adding an extra bedroom. We were like, oh, cool, it's 5 bedrooms, 2 baths. Like, we're okay with that. But then when we went through the house and walked through the house with our contractor, he was like, we can make half of this, living room, a basement living room, a bedroom. And we're like, oh, we didn't think about that. And he's like, how much would that add to your cash flow? And we're like, I mean, we're already cash flowing with 5, so it's 6, we'll just double that, And so he was like, we can do it for an extra 4,000 and 4,500. And we're like, okay, let's do it. It's worth it. So
yeah, totally. I mean, if you think about, I think the best return on investment for like a rent another room strategy is adding a bedroom, because it's really not expensive to add a bedroom. I mean, 4,500, like, shoot, that's just like I did this back like 3-4 years ago, right before COVID, and it was like $2 grand, like 1,500, I think, to add a bedroom. But prices have increased, and it was easy. It wasn't like a full thing. But yeah, I mean, even 4,500 though, like if you're able to get an extra $900 a month, like what is that? That's like what, 6 months? Not even like 5 months, and you get that's like a 200% return on your investment in the course of a year. Like that, like if you could do like. add all the bedrooms, right? That's like the best investment you can make, if you could. So that's amazing that you guys were able to find and see that, and you're still making the numbers work. So you said, what was the purchase price? You said 585 on this third one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
585. You didn't get the concessions. What's your monthly payment?
3,300.
300.
Mm-hmm.
We did a two
Oh yeah,
2-1 buy down.
we did do a 2-1 buy down. So we're actually at 6.5, but right now we're at 4.5. Yeah.
Okay. So when it goes up to 6.5, do you know what that's going to be, the monthly payment?
I think that comes up to like 38 or something like
38.
that. Yeah. So
Okay. So 38. Yeah. And so even with this 3,800 mortgage, what are you getting for rents, or if you haven't rented out yet, what do you expect to?
yeah. So I mean, by the end of that 2-year period, let's just say like we still are doing 850 times 6. That's what, 4,000, like 5,000 bucks.
5,200.
Yeah, 5,200 bucks. So,
but
yeah.
this house, we're renting out the garage, and there's 2 separate garage spaces, which again we really loved. And so Nate was like, "Let's charge extra 150 for this garage, so that's $1,000." So, and one of them is already paying 1,000. So even probably more than now we're getting 6,200 instead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are conservative numbers. Like I almost want to I might need to do a whole nother episode with you guys just on this one property, because like I'm just super intrigued about like this exact deal.
Yeah.
And like, and actually, funny enough, we're actually going to be, for the listeners out there, we're actually going to be adding an episode each week that's going to be just me kind of like diving into a deal, doing something like, talking about the market in Denver or other markets that are good, popping off, and all that. And so it's going to be good. And I might have to ping you guys for to be one of the first couple ones.
Yeah.
100%. We'd love that.
Yeah. But awesome, guys. So, okay, you're going on year 3. Technically, you're 2 years in. You're like 2 years and a couple months, right? Like 2 years and a couple months. You've got 3 properties after moving to Denver, and you're pretty much on that, like on the year, on the money grind. And so, where does your passive income fall now after 3 years or 2 years and 2 months?
Our passive income fall now. I mean, first thing, I was just joking with her. I was like, yeah, it sounds like it's passive, but it's not really passive. But I know.
It's income from your assets, right? It's not tying you to your job.
Yeah. So as far as income goes, like tying everything in together, probably what, 1,400 plus, probably another 1,400 plus like another like 700. So we're probably looking at what, 3,500. Yeah. In passive income.
Okay. So in 2.5 years, you guys have systematically created $3,500 of passive income for yourselves. That's incredible, right? I mean, I don't even know how much that is per year, but it's probably not enough to live off of, but like you're getting there. And if you you can maybe move to Thailand and live off like kings off that, but but that's the thing. It's like 2.5 years, and you didn't do anything that's like out of this world, can't be repeated, right? And that's why I love this strategy, is that like every single person can do this if they're just willing to put in a little bit of extra work, right? If they're willing to like be a team with their spouse, like you guys have done such a great thing. Like, okay, I want to get into that actually. Like, how has it been like doing this together with your spouse? Like, have you guys had any fights, any arguments? Like, do you guys disagree on things, and how do you kind of resolve those disagreements?
I'll show you go first, babe.
I mean, yeah. I will say me and Nate work really well as a team. We were friends first before, I always say we were friends first before lovers.
He saw the journey.
He saw the journey. Craig saw but they didn't see the journey, so I'm telling them that.
He remembers me talking about you in South America.
Yeah.
When I was with somebody else.
But we are a really good team, like kind of like when Nate mentioned, like even when we do the whole process of finding roommates, it's like he takes on the analytical, the posting, all of that. I take on the relationship, asking questions, showing them properties, because now I'm a realtor. So that's something that I have time for. And it frees him time to do his job and make sure that he can do his job great, because he has a W-2 and I don't. And so I have more time for my clients, building relationships, and that's what I love doing. So we work well in that aspect. And then I think when it comes to like the house, I think decisions are easy to make together because we know our why, we know our end goal, we know where we want to go. And so we haven't really had much fights about it. I mean, I sometimes do I get irritated with living with people and they're not up to my standards of cleanliness maybe. Sometimes yes, like, and I get frustrated and I'll take it out on him, but he knows where it's coming from and he'll sit me down and say, okay, what's actually bugging you? We're not going to live with someone forever. Just remember that, he's really good at knowing that and remembering that. I never really have to remind him, but sometimes he has to remind me because I can get frustrated. And so then I'm like, you know what? That's right. Remind me of our why. Let's keep going. Let's move forward. And I've even told him, like I could, I don't want to say this for sure, but I was like, if we had to do this for longer than we have said, I'd be okay with it because we work as a team, we work as a unit. And in all honesty, I mean, we're in a house right now and we live with 5 other people and you don't even hear them. They're not even here right now, I don't think, and so sometimes it seems like we live just by ourselves and sometimes it does seem like we live with other people. But I think our biggest thing is remembering our why, and that's what gets us through as a couple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anything else you have to say?
No, I don't think there's anything they need to add there. I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
I would just say that when it comes to like, us just being an actual couple, it's really just having like the emotional intelligence to like understand one another and understand where each other are coming from. And I think also therapy has also helped with that as well.
We've been doing couples therapy just because.
Yeah, just because. Not like there's anything wrong, but it helps us like unwrap maybe something that's going on with our day, or something's going on with me, something's going on with her. So there are some things that we do, within our relationship that like helps us in the business aspect as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love that. I think just like, I mean, it's pretty clear that the communication is on point and you guys have clear roles like within this business that you've created. I think that's important. I know, like with my spouse, you guys both know Grace. Obviously, you were at the wedding, and we like we're Airbnb-ing our house still, and it wasn't an Airbnb in the beginning, right? It was we had a roommate, and she lived downstairs, pretty separate, but we shared a kitchen. And this woman just happened to be very not like very messy, like average messy. Like I was like, like maybe a touch on the messy side, but nothing to be crazy about. But like Grace is very neat, and so she didn't like that. And then this woman had like kind of a revolving door of quote unquote men or boys, I should say, coming through the house, and that was like really upsetting to Grace. And like at some point, I was like, okay, like kind of saying the same thing Nate was saying. I was like, it's okay, it's just temporary. Like this isn't going to be forever. And then at some point, though, I was just like, you know what? Fine. Like, it's not worth me hearing this anymore. Like, I was like, you're out in the next 30 days. We're going to turn it into an Airbnb. Yeah.
And I think that's what you have to think of, right? It's not forever. You're not going to, like, when we have kids, we don't want to live with anyone, right? But we've built a portfolio that we have other homes, whether it's the home we're living in now or whether it's another home we're going to buy. One day we're not going to live with people. This is only temporary. We don't have a kid right now. So can we do this? Yes, we can. Like it's really not that hard. A lot of people that rent out rooms also don't really share a lot of the common spaces or don't really come into our space a lot. And if they do, awesome. We're really inviting. So I think it's just changing that mindset and just knowing it's, like you said, it's not going to be forever. It's very temporary until we, get to our end goal.
Totally. I think when people think rent by the room, they automatically jump to college when, you live with roommates and it was a bunch of friends in the same place and they were out like chugging beers, playing drunk Mario Kart and making tons of noise till 2 a.m. But like, that's not what people do. Like when they're adults, working adults, it's like they go to their bedroom and like you might hear their cell phone buzz every once in a while. And that's like the extent of like what you hear. And that was at least my experience.
Yeah, no, it's very true. It's I feel like I'm louder than half the people we live with.
She doesn't necessarily have an office, and as a real estate, Craig knows how loud you are. but yeah, it's so weird, right? Because like because she doesn't have an office, I have my office, and she's a real estate agent, so obviously she's on the phone all the time. She's probably the loudest one in the whole house. Like everybody else is like quiet as a church mouse.
So if I can do it, everyone else can.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, awesome, guys. Well, hey, this has been great. We're gonna have to kind of lead into the final part of our show. Before we get there, are there any words of wisdom you want to share with the listeners?
I guess I'll go first. Is I would say just dive in. I think a lot of people are hesitant to like live with other people, and just like you said in your book, there is like a spectrum. You can be in a duplex, you can rent by the room, you can even be in a curtain if you want to, but like there's a level of comfortability for house hacking that people can do that meets like their comfort level. So once you figure out that comfort level and you find the right property, just go ahead and dive in. I know it's scary. It was scary for us at first, but thanks to people like you, thanks to other people in our lives that made us feel comfortable getting into that first opportunity. So that's what I would say. It's just dive in.
Yep. Yep. I would just say be okay with living in the uncomfortable for a little bit, because sometimes I feel like we're like I was really comfortable living in California, but if I stayed in California, not to say we couldn't have bought a house, but I don't think we'd be where we are today if we stayed in California. And so be ready to live in the uncomfortable and see what comes out of that, because a lot more can come out of that. And again, knowing your why on this journey is the biggest thing for me. So I know where I'm going and I know this is not forever, but I'm willing to take that sacrifice because we know our why. So know your why. What is your why?
Totally, totally. That's big. Awesome. And we're gonna get to that in a minute. But this is now we're segueing into our
The final four.
four. All right. The way we usually start this off is Ali does this question usually, so I'm like, what is it again? But what book are you reading right now?
What book am I reading right now? I'm in audiobooks. So the book that I'm listening to right now is The Alchemist. Classic book, good book that a lot of people read. But yeah, that's probably the book that I'm listening to on my walks with my dog in the morning.
Nice. Ashley?
I'm actually reading Ninja Selling right now. So it's really changing my mindset of, I mean, I'm very relationship based already with my business and with our business. But it's really teaching me aspects of the morning and having a routine and really sticking to that and being consistent in that. So loving the book right now.
Love it. All right. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice is you're never as good as they say you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. So that just keeps me level headed and keeps me humble. Because when you are doing better than like not 99% of your peers around you, you can become cocky. But on the flip side, when there's also people that are also doing better than you, it also makes you feel like, okay, I got to strive to do more. So
Yeah.
I think that statement helps me keep level headed in this industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree to that. I would also say my best piece of advice I always tell myself, because I do it often, is fail often and be okay with failing often. Because you learn so much more in the failing than in the succeeding, right? It's so great to succeed. It feels good. Your energy is pumped. And of course, we all want to succeed, but there's so much to learn for in the failing. And it's a journey, right? And we're probably going to fail more than we succeed. And it's okay, because that's how we learn and that's how we discover who we are.
Yeah, we definitely made some mistakes along the way, but I know we're talking about like a lot of positive things, but there are some things that we have learned along the way where it's like, okay, we need to not do that next time. So.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, love that. All right, what is your why?
Yeah, so I would say just going back to me getting let go, I realized that I'm not a corporate individual. Yes, I work corporate. I have a W-2, but I don't want to work corporate forever. After being laid off multiple times in my career, I realized that I'm just like a number on a spreadsheet to like a lot of these companies and corporations. So if I can figure out a way to get out of that rat race to where like I don't have to rely on a company for my income, that's really my personal why, and then also like our family why. So
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah. I think, of course, we both have that why, but I think together, our why is really getting our time back. We've always said that is getting our time back. And what that means is being able to do this now and grind now and do all these things that not a lot of people are comfortable doing, because we want to be able to be there for our family. I don't want to have to go to a meeting. I don't want him to have to go to work and miss our kid's concert, or just being there for our kid, or traveling with our kids, or traveling with one another. We want that free time. We want our time back. And so our why is the future, our family, and just helping people and giving back. But we can't do that if we're just stuck in the grind all the time.
Yeah. I'm trying to be a coach like you, dude.
A what?
I said I'm trying to be a coach like him.
Oh, yeah.
I already got the sports shades, the dad outfit, everything. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you're ready, man, and you're ready. We'll have to co-coach sometime. Yeah. And then where can people find out more about you if they wanted to follow your story along? What's your IG, all that stuff?
Yeah.
I would say she's the one that's on social media a little bit more. I'm getting there now. But
just say your Instagram.
Yeah, it's Nate 909 page. So yeah, you can follow my story on there on Instagram. And
then mine's Ashley Danielle page, but we also Nate doesn't post on it much. I'm the one that handles it, but we also have a couples one to show our investing journey. And that one is Turning the Pages. So Ashley Danielle page and Turning the Pages. Yeah. Our last name is Page.
Yeah. Love that. Awesome, guys. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. Great to see both your faces and hear your voices and hear a little bit more about your story. Yeah. And I think it'll be inspiring to a lot of people. So thanks again so much for coming on, and we'll definitely chat soon.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye, Craig.
See ya. And that was Nate and Ashley. Man, Nate and Ashley are some of my favorite people. I feel like when I'm done talking with them, I just feel so energized, feel so motivated, so loved. I think Ashley said in the episode that when someone walks in her house, it feels like the house gave them a hug. I feel like that's how Ashley is every time I talk to her. She's just so warm and so friendly that if you ever get a chance to hug Ashley, she gives some amazing hugs. But this whole episode I thought was incredible. It's so incredible because Nate and Ashley are just your normal couple. Like, Nate has a W-2 job. He works from home. Ashley is a real estate agent. They systematically have purchased homes in 2021 when the market was at an all-time high, 2022 when it was at an all-time high yet again in that time frame, and then here in 2023 when interest rates were super high. And guess what? Their best property they purchased was in 2023. And so if this is something to say here, is that it is always going to be a good time to buy. And as long as you can find yourself a good deal, a deal that works, the numbers work, you can kind of figure out whether that is rent by the room, short-term rental, medium-term rental, long-term rental, whatever strategy you want to do, make sure it works. And don't be so focused on just one strategy. Probably if you're buying in Denver or an expensive market, you're going to have to do a rent by the room strategy to start. And then in a couple of years, you can then transition to a long-term strategy after rents increase, and you can then cover your mortgage, et cetera, et cetera. But overall, the moral of the story is buy real estate and wait. Don't wait to buy real estate. When we all know that when these rates go down, the market is going to pop off. And when it pops off, you're going to wait for the market to come. There's going to be nothing to wait for, right? It's just always going to be the best time to buy real estate is right now. And so if you guys are interested in buying real estate, if you're in the Denver area or wherever you're at, make sure you check out thefieteam.com, click on the Let's House Hack link and fill out that form. And we'll make sure that if you're in the Denver area, we'll absolutely be the ones to help you out. And if you're not in Denver and you're looking for an investor-friendly agent, we've got a network of investor-friendly agents around the country. So we'll be able to help you out in those areas as well. So thanks so much for listening, guys. Again, you can find me on Instagram at The Fi Guy. You can find our team, thefieteam.com, and stay tuned for the next episodes coming up. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
That's it for this episode of Investify. We hope that these nuggets of real estate wisdom lead to more savvy financial planning and a clearer path towards financial freedom. For more content like this, subscribe to the show at investify.com. Don't forget to leave a rating and share it with your friends. Together, we can transform more real estate newbies into successful and clever investors. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next one.